In terms of whether or not you can get an annulment, there are basically two different types of marriages: void marriages and voidable marriages. A void marriage is a marriage that is invalid from the very beginning. For example, if you married your brother or your sister, that marriage is void because it is illegal to marry a sibling in the state of Florida. The next type of marriage is a voidable marriage. This is an otherwise valid marriage that can contain a defect that can be cured, potentially. For example, suppose that it is very important to you that your spouse is of a particular religion. You would never marry that person unless they were a member of your specific religion. When you meet your spouse, he or she tells you that they are of your same faith. Eventually, you get married to that person. Later, you discover that your spouse lied to you and that they are not a member of your religion. In that case, you don't have a void marriage because there's no prohibition about marrying people with different priorities of different religions. However, your marriage is voidable. If you can prove to a judge that your spouse lied to you and that you would not have otherwise married that person, the judge would very likely grant your annulment. However, if you learn the truth about your spouse's religion and do nothing, then potentially your spouse in a later hearing could argue that you agreed to that problem and cured the defect in your voidable marriage. Similar to an uncontested divorce, if you and your spouse agree to the reasons and terms of an annulment, you can very likely get your annulment at a very reduced cost and time frame as compared to a litigated annulment.